Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
No doubt, no doubt. Well, your work and the upcoming book, I Saw Death Coming, gives evidence to the thread of white supremacist violence throughout US history. And so I want to know more from you about what we can learn from people who have resisted in the past and about how teachers should resist the repressive laws and threats today to teaching truth.
I think that's an excellent question. I think one of the things that we can learn is that there is power in saying that people's lives, freedoms, and futures matter, and that those declarations inspired people across the generations to collective action. And they still have the power, that power to inspire justice-minded people to build a more just world today. And so I think there are some interconnected lessons that we can learn from our predecessors. And this is something I think that teachers can take in mind, and one is that fighting for freedom and justice is best done collectively. And I think that that sort of fits the Zinn project so well. Teachers can fight and win by working with other educators, with librarians, with students and activists, primarily, I think, by accessing the historical records. So I think we have to understand what the laws say, and we have to be strategic as we fight them. And so sometimes it means sort of considering, do the laws prohibit us from teaching historical records cataloged by the Library of Congress, by the National Archives, by state archives? These institutions, along with the Zinnette Project, are our partners in the struggle. And so, they provide records and lessons, I think, that let the students see the records for themselves. But I think we also fight these laws, these unjust laws, by reaching out to lawmakers, by running for office, and by direct action protests.
Dr. Williams, hello. Dave Zirin.
Hi.
Big fan, first time talking to you. I was curious in what ways your work has been influenced by Howard Zinn, and perhaps you could name a couple of other historians who've informed your scholarship.
So I would say what Howard Zinn taught me is that whether it's war, incarceration, or censorship, we have to believe, if we say we believe in a just world, then we have a duty to disturb injustice and unjust practices wherever they exist. We can't give proponents of unjust practices and policies and their silent enablers a moment of peace. So we have to call unjust policies and practices by their names, and we have to use our voices even if they shake while we do it. And so, he also taught me that my experiences, my understandings of the world, particularly the repression of African Americans, doesn't happen in a vacuum. And that those, that these struggles, that Black people's struggles, are connected to other people's struggles. And so in terms of other historians, as a historian, I'm going to go back to, I think, some of the earlier histories, some of the earlier truth tellers and history fighters. And so for me, the ones who inspire me, I think, I sort of give a quick list. Frederick Douglass, for not letting Confederates or Unionists off the hook. He didn't let either one off the hook. T. Thomas Fortune, who understood the need for a very spirited coalition of activists to fight rising oppression of working and poor people, even before Jim Crow was fully installed. So T. Thomas Fortune is there before a lot of the other activists were more familiar with. Ida B. Wells Barnett, of course, for telling the truth about lynching and rape. William Monroe Trotter for fighting for working class peoples. And then I'll end with W.E.B. Du Bois and Paul and Aslanda Robeson for helping more Black people see the global nature of the fight. And I think they inspire me because they didn't all live to enjoy the freedoms they fought for, but they said that Black people's lives, freedoms, and futures mattered. And they helped us understand that a better world was possible.
No doubt. I love that. And I just wanted to wrap up with the question, why do you take the approach you do to sharing people's history? And whose voices are you most intent on amplifying, and why? And, I ask this because there's some just incredible voices that you share on your podcast. I'm thinking of Harry Jarvis, who had run away from a Virginia plantation on which he was enslaved, and you had an actor reading his words, and I thought maybe we'd just play this before you answer.
I went to him and asked him to let me enlist, but he said it wasn't a black man's war. I told him it would be a black man's war before they got through.
So thanks for playing that clip. It's one of my favorites. And, you know, as we got the show together, it was one of the things that I knew I absolutely had to have. And it's because stories of people, people's histories, like Harry Jarvis's, and his, you know, he's playing a role or playing a part in this larger African-American radical stand against slavery and its afterlife. Stories like his are often the ones that ruling regimes and their proponents ignore when they tell the history. And so I am most intent on amplifying voices like his, because I think they matter for understanding what happened. You can understand what really happened in the context of the Civil War, particularly with emancipation as a result of it, if you understood that people like Harry Jarvis understood something about the nation and about the war and about Black people's commitment to freedom that obviously Lincoln, right, and the rest of the Unionists and Confederates didn't. And so it's those kinds of stories, those unexpected stories of often marginalized people who play a role in turning the course of history that I think are important for understanding what really happened and its impact today.
Yeah, absolutely. Brilliant. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.